York Giants had one of the most historically terrible collapses in the history of the National Football League. From a 99.8% win probability to a loss. Jackson Dart and Cam Scattaboo, those two guys instantly seemed to turn around the fortunes of the New York Giants. A Broncos team that I think has a chance to win the AFC. They're that good. The New York Giants had one of the most historically terrible collapses in the history of the National Football League. Leading 19-0 after 3 quarters. And we have talked about Jackson Dart and Cam Scattaboo on this program. Those two guys instantly seemed to turn around the fortunes of the New York Giants. The swagger of those guys. Not just the way that they have performed well, but the attitude that has gone with it. I mean, you're talking about 2 young guys, 2 rookies, who seem to have the confidence of 10-year veterans. And so things have been looking up for the New York Giants, and they were continuing to look up on the road against a very, very good Denver Broncos team. A Broncos team that I think has a chance to win the AFC. They're that good. And to go into Denver and get up 19-0 through 3 quarters, an impressive 3 quarters for Brian Dable's team. Jackson Dart and Scattaboo, and you're starting to think to yourself, well, my God, how good are these young New York Giants? Not so fast, my friend. Take a look at this. Going from a 99.8% win probability to a loss. And boy, did it escalate quickly. Let's break down how this happened. The Broncos were ahead 26-8 with under 5.5 minutes left in the game. Giants ahead, rather. Sorry. Jared's in my ear. The Giants were ahead. It's hard for me to... It's Monday, all right? Hang on. Nothing like a little straight tequila to get you going. All right. So 26-8, Giants lead. Less than 5.5 minutes left to go in this game. The last 1,602 times that a team was up by 18 or more points in the NFL with less than 6 minutes to go, 1,602-0. Let me repeat that. The last 1,602 times an NFL team had an 18-point lead with under 6 minutes to go, undefeated. Until yesterday. The Broncos come back, win it on a Will Lutz field goal, 33-32. And here's another piece of history for you that occurred in this game, set by the Denver Broncos. The most points in the fourth quarter ever scored by an NFL team that had been shut out through the first 3 quarters. The Broncos going 0-0-0, 30-3 in the fourth quarter. Ron, they were like me breaking an intermittent fast is the only comparison point that I have, Ron. 16 hours, 18 hours, and then I just eat every fucking thing in front of me. And in this case, what was in front of the Denver Broncos was the New York Giants, and they didn't leave a lot of meat on the bone. So this got me thinking, what are the greatest upsets in terms of historic comebacks where you've just written it off? The game's over. It's over. You can go home, drive home safely. In fact, Bo Nix saying after the game, maybe everybody shouldn't have left. Oh, ye of little faith. I guarantee you there were a lot of people leaving that stadium on Sunday. They're going to be kicking themselves for the rest of their life. They believed in the math. 99.8%, let's go beat traffic. And instead, they missed the greatest comeback that we've seen in the NFL in a very long time. So what is the bar? Where does this one rank historically? Well, I'm going to give you 5 that I consider to be, if not the top 5, certainly these are 5 that are going to be on any short list that you want to make, no matter how you slice it. Some more famous than others. We'll begin with the Cleveland Browns in 2014, coming back and beating the Tennessee Titans 29-28 after trailing 28-3 midway through the second quarter. Brian Hoyer was the guy who got that job done. It stands to this day as the largest road comeback in NFL history. 4 unanswered TD drives. So that's the biggest comeback that any team has ever made on the road. 25 down to a victory. 2014. Next on the list, here's one that some of you probably are aware of, at least if you're of a certain age. December 7th, 1980. Take a look at this. The New Orleans Saints led the San Francisco 49ers 35-7 at halftime. Final score, 39-38 49ers. The first truly epic win of a young quarterback from Notre Dame named Joe Montana. Yeah, that's right. At that point in time, maybe we knew there was a chance that this guy was going to be very, very special. And of course he was. Maybe that's a good indication for Bo Nix as well, if you're a Denver Broncos fan. Number 3 is super famous. I suppose that we could rate it as number 1 if we're going to look at the stakes. And I speak, of course, of 28-3. It's on the Patriots Super Bowl rings, by the way. 28-3. Atlanta Falcons, 2 minutes and 12 seconds left in the third quarter of the Super Bowl. Oh my God. I'm sorry if you're a Falcons fan and you're watching this. 5 straight scoring drives engineered by Tom Brady. The first Super Bowl game to ever go to overtime. New England winning the game 34-28. 31 unanswered points to claim the Lombardi. Biggest choke job. If we're going to look at what was on the line, it's got to be the biggest choke job in the history of the NFL. Here's another one that's famous. Buffalo Bills 41, Houston Oilers 38. AFC wildcard game, January 3rd, 1993. Take a look at that. Oilers 35-3 with 13-19 left in the third quarter. Buffalo scores 5 unanswered touchdowns to take the lead. The Oilers tie it. Buffalo goes on to win 41-38 in overtime with backup quarterback Frank Reich replacing the injured Jim Kelly and getting the job done. And Frank Reich, sort of like the Forrest Gump of historic comebacks, because he sort of indirectly is involved in the next one as well. Minnesota Vikings 39, Indianapolis Colts 36 in overtime, December 17th, 2022. Remember when Jeff Saturday was the Indianapolis head coach? They hired him out of the broadcast booth. He lasted about 15 minutes. This is the one that sent him back into being a media member. 33-0. The Colts led the Vikings at halftime, making it the greatest deficit ever recovered from in the history of the NFL. A 33-point comeback. Kirk Cousins throwing for 417 yards after halftime. Think about that. So, you've got company, at least, New York Giants, but you're on that list now. It's a gimme 5. I guess we're going to call it a gimme 6 because I don't know how we can avoid putting you right up there because the magnitude is unbelievable. Coughing up 33 points in the fourth quarter after pitching a shutout. Going to be a tough one to bounce back from. Just when Brian Dable thinks that he's getting his job saved by these kids, this happens. I don't know. I'm counting them down, though, I'll tell you that. Counted them down 5-1 today, just like I was Casey Kasem. And next on the historical loss list, I don't know, New York Giants. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars, motherfucker. Or maybe Brian Dable needs to send somebody a long-distance dedication. Who the hell else was going to tell you what the number 38 song in America was? I didn't see anybody else lining up to take that job. I love Casey Kasem. If you're of a certain age, America's Top 40 Countdown is a part of the soundtrack of your youth. Still remember it with a great deal of fondness. I think I remember Ron writing in one time with a long-distance dedication. Is that true, Ron? I think it involved, I don't know, herpes or something like that. But, anyway. All right, so look, there is a historical win for the Denver Broncos, and Shohei Ohtani had a historical performance in Game 4 of the National League Championship Series. I, among others, consider it to be the greatest game that anyone has ever played in the history of baseball. The National League started in 1876. We've been doing this for a long time. They were pitching underhand at first. We had the dead ball era. We have gone through so many phases of baseball. Nobody has ever done anything like this. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs, 10 strikeouts, 3 home runs. And we were all witnesses to something that I would have considered to be absolutely impossible for the large majority of my life. He's the greatest baseball player who's ever lived. Peak value. No, he's not going to hit 700 home runs in his career. No, he's not going to win 200 games. His counting stats will not be what some other guys are, but you tell me who, at his best, was better than a guy who is a number 1 starting pitcher and the most dangerous power hitter in his league. 50-50 man last year. Barry Bonds didn't do it. Willie Mays didn't do it. Mickey Mantle didn't do it. A-Rod didn't do it. I mean, just go through, name the player. Nobody's ever gone 50-50 until this guy. He followed it up this year with another 55 home runs and 20 stolen bases. And oh yeah, by the way, he was injured last year and didn't get to pitch. You saw in Game 4 of the NLCS that when he is dialed in and at his best, I'm not sure that there's anybody in baseball who's a better pitcher than this guy either. He throws 102, and he's filthy. And for most of my life, I would have thought it would be impossible to be a pitcher and a hitter in Major League Baseball. This isn't Little League. We all remember in Little League, the best hitter was a pitcher, and he was nasty. And then he would hit the ball a country mile. But as baseball becomes more sophisticated and we move up the levels, you don't see that happening anymore. Except for one guy. Not even Babe Ruth did it. And I love Babe Ruth, and there's a lot of people who were pissed off. They didn't like my take that he's the greatest of all time. Well, what about Babe Ruth? Well, look, Babe Ruth was a fat guy who played 100 plus years ago in a different era, in a segregated league. What do you think Babe Ruth's fastball was? Do you think Babe Ruth even threw 90, if we're being real with ourselves? I doubt it. Unbelievable hitter, no doubt about it, but he gave up pitching when he became a New York Yankee. He pitched, and he was a damn good one, and then the Yankees made him a hitter. Now, I think the lesson of Shohei Ohtani is the Yankees fucked up. The Yankees should have done the same thing with Ruth. Do you think Babe Ruth would have had a flying fuck to give about pitching and hitting at the same time? He's just out there fucking whores, eating hot dogs, visiting the hospital for sick kids. just running around, just doing whatever he's doing every day because he's Babe fucking Ruth. Doesn't even need to train. He's just one of those guys who's fucking country strong, as Keith Jackson used to say about big old corn-fed offensive linemen, swinging a bat that's heavier than a fucking sledgehammer. He probably could have done it. The Yankees should have let him do it. We live in the era of the most specialization that there's ever been in baseball, and we got this one guy who apparently thinks that it's 100 years ago. And is just like, well, yeah, sure, whatever, give me the ball, I'll pitch. And then I'll crank 3 bombs when I'm not striking people out. The best that there has ever been, and we are privileged and lucky to live in an era where we can see it. This episode of the Ricky Cobb Show is brought to you by PrizePicks. You know, you and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Join millions of others who are enjoying watching sports and getting their PrizePicks in, and you can do that so very easily, my friends. You know, I won this weekend myself, picked up a little bit of cash in my spare time, and I think that you're going to be on your way to doing the same thing when you take advantage of the max discount that's going on right now with Steph Curry. All you got to do if you pick Steph Curry is select him, and if he scores 1 point, you're going to hit on that pick, putting you that much closer to victory and profiting. So get in today and use my code Ricky, and you will get $50 in lineups on the house when you play your first $5 lineup. It's as simple as that. Use my code Ricky, R-I-C-K-Y, and you'll get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. I would advise you to make sure that Steph Curry is in your lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. And now let's talk about what's not right in the NFL. Coaches on the hot seat. Well, I don't know how hot the hot seat is in each of these cases. It has to be heating up and making Mike McDaniel's little tush uncomfortable at this point. The only pick that I missed in my NFL picks this week was the remaining amount of confidence I had in Mike McDaniel. I expended it when I took the Dolphins on the road against the lowly 1-5 Cleveland Browns, starting a rookie quarterback in only his third start of his career. Dolphins get beat 31-6 by the Browns, spanked by the Cleveland Browns and their rookie quarterback. And I have to believe Mike McDaniel is in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. Tua last week coming out, airing dirty laundry from within the team, the locker room, then apologizing for it. It's a dysfunctional mess. They desperately needed a win, and they didn't get it. Now, another coach on the hot seat, maybe not on the hot seat because you get some runway when you're a new hire. But Aaron Glenn, former defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, the big offseason acquisition for the New York Jets. Guess what? The Jets now still winless after another loss, and Justin Fields benched finally at last. Just 1 week after Aaron Glenn said, Justin Fields, why would I bench Justin Fields? Well, he realized this weekend, perhaps a little bit later than some of us, that Justin Fields isn't getting the job done. And Ron, I've got a quick stat here for you.
Hit me.
Justin Fields, what do you think his passer rating is?
This year?
Yeah, just don't overthink it. Just
52.
What would you guess his passer rating is?
52.
91.1. Is that not the sorriest 91.1 passer rating in the history of football?
Yeah.
He doesn't have any interceptions, and his completion percentage is like 63.
He doesn't pass the ball, though. He
How is
never
that
throws
possible?
it.
Well,
He
I know.
never throws the ball. You want another stat about Justin? Worst winning percentage of every quarterback in the history of the NFL that has started at least 50 games. He's 14-36.
Really?
Yep.
Really? Well, you had him pegged, Ron. You knew he was terrible before any of us.
Listen,
That's our story, and we're
since when this
it.
show started, I said, I don't know why everybody's on Justin Fields' jock. He's not that good. He's going to be a disaster in the NFL. I called it, Ricky. I've been saying it since day one.
Since day one, over my strong objections, I was just like, I think he's kind of going to light it up. Right? Okay.
You were upset that he left the Bears?
By the way,
I remember vividly.
I was thrilled. All right. Well, look, Mike McDaniel and Aaron Glenn, Big Jim can relate to how they must be feeling at this moment, Ron, after yet another troubling loss. Maybe the thing to do is just take your camper out to some remote area of the forest, throw in an Air Supply 8-track, and replay in your mind just where the hell everything went wrong. Is kind of how I see it. Look at Big Jim there. That's a man who's experienced some pain. Can we get that up again? I want you to look at the face of the man sitting behind the wheel of the camper there. That's a man who is in deep reflection, Ron. Why? Yeah. Why did I think Justin Fields was my QB1? Why did I waste the first 6 games of my tenure on this jackass? All right, Ron, here we go. Let's tee it up right now. It's a Monday. We're going to waste no time getting to the fun stuff because it's time for America's Poll of the Day. And let's go to it now. It's Super 70 Sports on X for the Eagle flies high. Higher than the win probability of the New York Giants with 6 minutes to go out in Denver on Sunday. And here are the choices. These are kind of coming partly from you. One of these is coming from the Yacht Rock playlist consultant. One of them's mine. It's a Frankenstein's poll. Let's get right to it. Spaghetti with meatballs is the first choice. Second option is poker. I hardly know her. Third option is Martha Quinn, the very popular and lovely MTV VJ from the 1980s. And then lastly, Ron, a flea flicker, but not just any flea flicker, a flea flicker that is executed for a touchdown. Break it down for me, Ronnie, as only you can.
All right. Spaghetti with meatballs. Absolutely. It's about the most basic meal that you can have in the Italian genre. And I got to be honest with you, I love it. Especially the mound of Parmesan, freshly grated Parmesan. You know, when the waiter... Do
you just let them stand there and crank it for an uncomfortable amount of time? I just want
to see really, how long they'll go. How long will they go? How long will they go? Yep.
I want it in my veins. That's how I am. Just bring a chair when you come to my table with the Parmesan.
So poker, I like poker, but I like it more as a kind of a social thing. Like, so poker with friends, like hanging out with your friends in the neighborhood playing poker. Like, I don't necessarily love poker, but I like that poker is kind of the vehicle to hang out with your friends. So like, I'm not going to go to Vegas and play poker. I do like blackjack, but poker, nah. But I do like poker as the vehicle to hang out with your boys. I was more of a Nina Blackwood guy than Martha Quinn. So if you would have put Nina up there,
she
I probably would have.
Raspy voice.
Oh,
Nina Blackwood.
Yeah. She definitely had that raspy
smoking,
voice.
Just like,
and
here's the Eurythmics,
flea flicker for a TD. I mean, who's going to not like that? So all that being said, I'm going to go spaghetti with meatballs.
All right. Spaghetti with meatballs is, clearly a winner. I'm never going to turn that down, especially if I can get just a, some sort of like metric ton of Parmesan cheese on top
the other one is you take garlic bread and you put the spaghetti and meatballs on the garlic bread and then take a bite that way. Delicious.
Yes, that's a good strategy that I will co-sign on as well. Poker, I don't really care, to be honest. I play occasionally, doesn't really do a lot for me. I'm not a big card game guy, although like you and your buddies, like y'all will occasionally let a cat set in the game. Isn't that right, Ron? So
Yep.
If there's a cat at the table, suddenly I'm kind of into it because I am a cat guy. Martha Quinn, that comes to us courtesy of the Yacht Rock Playlist Consultant. She was like the girl next door. You know, she was the approachable, cute girl that, you know, you kind of was a low-key crush for a lot of people. And then lastly, Flea Flicker for a touchdown is always fun unless your team is on the receiving end of it. I too, Ron, am going to vote for spaghetti and meatballs. So let's light this candle and see what Super 70s Nation has to say. All right, you can always count on my hungry audience. It's going to be spaghetti with meatballs unless Flea Flickers make a Denver Broncos level comeback here, which I'm going to say the win probability for spaghetti and meatballs is about 99.8% with a 3-point advantage there with almost 5,000 votes in. Martha Quinn third, Poker fourth, and we are going to head to a break now, my friends, straight out of this America's Poll of the Day, because when I come back, I'll be joined by 3-time Major League All-Star Bret Boone, who will help me figure out all things October baseball, and it will happen straight ahead, right after this, right here on The Ricky Cobb Show.
Football's finally back, so's the hard-hitting gridiron action on PrizePicks. Download PrizePicks and use code OUTKICK and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play $5. Must be present in certain states. Visit PrizePicks.com for restrictions and details.
Welcome back to the program, my friends, here on a Monday afternoon in Chicago. As we said at the top of the show, Game 7 of the American League Championship Series is tonight in Toronto. Someone is punching their ticket to the Fall Classic where they will meet Shohei Ohtani and the LA Dodgers, the Mariners and the Blue Jays. And who better to break it down for me than former Seattle Mariners all-star second baseman, a Mariners legend, in fact, as well as the host of the Bret Boone podcast, my friend, Bret Boone. Bret, how's it going, man?
Hey, Ricky, how you doing?
Always good to see you, brother. And we were talking just a little bit earlier. You've been out hunting, decompressing from the season.
Decompressing, yeah. What a season, getting back in this year, with Bruce Bochy and getting back on the field. It was a wake-up call. It was a lot of work. It was exhausting, but I can see the intrigue and the draw because we were close. We got late in the season. We got to within a game of a wild card spot, and we weren't able to finish the deal. But I can see how rewarding being on this side of the ledger. I've always been a player, now been on the coaching side. How rewarding it could be when you do win. So didn't do it this year, but we'll see what happens going forward.
Well, you are, of course, the hitting coach of the Texas Rangers. And Bret, let me ask you, what's the biggest difference? I still think of you, well, I still think of myself too. I guess I'm a little biased. I think of us as young guys. But,
right.
We're getting a little mileage on the odometer. I mean, it's amazing to me to think that you're 20 years out of your career, and I still feel like you should be like 38 years old is how I see you.
I still think I am. I think we
changed?
all are.
Yeah, that's
what
in my mind,
the gray hairs.
There are days where
different.
I realize I'm older. Yeah. But on a good day, in my brain, I can still do things that I probably haven't really been able to do in a long time. What's the biggest change in the game in terms of pitching and hitting from when you retired?
Well, nowadays, I like to put it this way. As much as the game has changed and some rules have changed and just the overall how people go about it has changed. Technology has certainly changed that. The strike zone with the little white box that now you can definitively, a player can actually come back to the dugout and definitively say whether it was a ball or a strike. In my generation, I'd look at it on a call I questioned, and I'd say, "Oh, that's a good pitch," or "That's definitely a ball." And it was a feel thing. It wasn't definitive by a white line. So that's different. The velocity is definitely up a couple ticks. Um, Guys are on the pitching side, it's more of a max effort when you're in there. You're not Guys aren't asked to go as long. You see that with the starters in the game today. East West, the strike zone is much smaller than it was when we played. And North South, I think a little bit bigger, but velocity is definitely up a tick. And some things I do like about today's game, it's not like I'm not one of those old guys that get off my lawn. It was better when I played. Yeah, of course, I like some things when I played. I prefer some of the things we had in my generation that we don't have anymore, and I miss those. The eye for an eye thing, I used to love that. I loved being able to take out a second baseman. I felt like as a second baseman, that's how you separated yourself from being an average second baseman to great, how you worked around the bag. Now anybody can turn a double play, so I don't like that. The replays I think are great. I don't like the replays on tag plays. I think it's goofy when you're out by 5 feet if whoever the best acrobat is and can put his hand on the base and do a swim move, or if you get bumped off your knee by a quarter of an inch with the technology we have, you're out. I like the bang bang. I like the force plays. I like the fair or foul. I like all of that. Did you get hit by a pitch or did it hit the bat? I like the replays on that, but for tag plays, I wish it had gone away. And I also think it's a little bit dangerous, the tag plays. If you're out by 10 feet and I come in spikes high and I have to actually lay the tag on you, you could get injured that way. Before it was basically the ball beat you, so those are some of the things I don't like. From a hitting perspective, there's a lot of metrics. There's a lot of analytics. You can track vertical break of there's pitches breaking. There's everybody seems like they have two breaking balls, and sometimes they're the same speed, but that have different shapes. Okay, I tried to really dumb it down and simplify, because you're always, as a hitter, you always got to simplify. So if a guy had two different breaking balls and they were similar speed, you put that in one basket and say that's 86. The fastball is 93 to 95. The cutter's 94 to 95. We put that in one basket. Hard is hard, soft is soft. And that's what I try to do as a hitting coach, is simplify things. I used to talk about, you got to pretend like you're on the PGA Tour and it's Saturday. And what do we do on Saturday if you're in the hunt? You got a 10 o'clock tee time. You don't go to the range and work on your swing. You go to the range to prepare to compete at 10 a.m. And I think we've gotten away from that a little bit in Major League Baseball. We play 162 games every day. A lot of times you play 7 days a week. And you can't come in searching for that perfect swing every day, because you're going to be very disappointed. You're not going to find it. Some days, I'm okay today. I got a chance to get a hit. That's as good as you're going to get. I remember, throughout my career, a couple years really stand out where start to finish, I really didn't struggle. That's a very rare thing. You look at my bubblegum card. I had some tough years. I had some good years, and I had some great years. But I know what it's like to really have a tough year. Some of my best years, where I really didn't get into a slump the entire season, I'd come to the ballpark and I probably felt great, like, okay, whoever's pitching today's in trouble, maybe a third of the time, at my absolute peak best. And that other 70% of the time, I felt okay. And I got a chance today. I got a chance to compete. I talked a lot with the hitters about having your A swing. Your A swing is when you feel great. Sometimes you got to go to the B swing. Sometimes you just got to knock it around the course. Back to the PGA analogy. Maybe today shooting par is good enough to live to fight another day. Today I don't have my 65, that 7 underscore in my bag, but I'm going to make sure I don't shoot 77. I'm going to shoot 72. And sometimes baseball, that's what you have to do. You have to go to that B swing. Maybe I'm not going to go 3 for 4 today with two 3-run homers, but I got a chance to compete and help my team win with the things I can do in the box. So that's basically was my message is prepare to compete at 7 o'clock every night and not search for the perfect swing, because the perfect swing doesn't exist.
Well, Bret, I remember, I think several years ago when you were on my old podcast, I remember us talking about the art of hitting, and you were talking about how Edgar Martinez would weigh each individual bat.
Yeah.
And if it was off by a fraction of an ounce, it would go in the rejected pile.
Yeah.
I don't think people can fully appreciate how difficult the job is. I love the golf analogy because I think golf, we all know how, anybody who's tried to play golf knows how fucking hard golf is. And then, what a lot of us can't relate to is how do you stand in there and deal with a, 93 mile an hour slider? I mean,
Right.
It's not something that a normal human being is tasked with.
Right.
How do you sort of relate those two challenges?
Well, I think too at the top level, at the big league level, you're a finished product, supposedly. You have a swing that got you there. You don't need to change your swing. I like to talk about the psychology of hitting, how to prepare to hit not only for each day, but for each at bat over 162 games. So when I leave that on deck circle, and I learned this later in my career, I have formulated a complete plan in my head on what I'm going to the plate with, and I'm going to stick to that plan, and I'm going to be steadfast, and I'm not going to waver. I'm going to be disciplined with my plan. I'm not always going to win, but I think if I do that and I'm consistent with it, and like I said, don't waver, I think over the course of 162, whatever my skill set is going to be as good as it could be. I learned that later in my career. Edgar was a big part of the second half of my career and my mindset. I try to pass that on to the hitters today. There's a time and a place to work on our swing and trial and error. That's how we all learn to hit. There's not a guru that comes out of the sky and teaches you how to hit. You either got it or you don't, and then you tweak your individual for your skill set. It's trial and error. It's trying things over and over in that cage, taking it into the game. Sometimes it works, sometimes back to the drawing board. But that's how we all learn to hit. The toughest part I see and not implemented enough today is how do we apply that to the game? How do we go there and prepare our mind to compete? It's not about the swing. We can get our elbow here and our back hip here and our weight here, but that all doesn't matter when a guy's throwing 100 and you're in that box. So simplifying it, breaking it down. Today, for example, who's hitting in front of me? Who's hitting behind me? What is my history with said pitcher on the mound today? Who's in the bullpen? Who's possibly coming in to face me? And if they do come in, the guy on deck hitting behind me, I want to have a conversation with him and say, what's your history with this guy coming out of the bullpen right now? If he says, and I'll use Edgar as an example, Boone, I hit this guy pretty good. Well, that gives me some intel that, all right, he doesn't want to face Edgar. Maybe he'll come after me a little bit with a base open. Quite the contrary. Edgar, what's your history with this guy coming in? I haven't had much success. Well, now I've got to be aware that they might be a little more careful with me with a base open. All these things go into having a big league approach, and they're learned things. It doesn't happen when you're 22 years old, but if you learn and you listen to the veteran guys that have been there, done that, that's how you prepare to hit at this level, because it's still the toughest thing I could imagine doing in sports. And you live and die, with the guys. It's almost like I go from having your kids when they're growing up and they're in high school and they're playing baseball, and I'm in the crowd and I'm trying to stay poised, but man, I'm living and dying with everything. And when my kids are doing well inside, I'm just a proud father, and fireworks are going off. When they're struggling, you're just dying with them. Like, I just want to help them, but I can't. Being a hitting coach is the same way. It's like I've got 13 kids now, and I am so proud and so happy for them when they do well. And man, when they're scuffling, I'm just dying with them inside. And so that's what I mean on the other side of the ledger, for the first time in a long time, having a uniform on and being in that capacity. My initial experience, and it was just 5 months, is wow, I'm going to go back to all those coaches I had through the years and apologize and go, I didn't know what you went through behind closed doors. But like I said, I think winning, it got my juices flowing again. I haven't been on a big league field in a long time, and man, winning would be so much fun and so rewarding for the, I don't want to call it misery, for the exhaustion you go through trying to get there.
Well, Bret, as I said at the top, you're a Mariners great, 37 homers, American League leading, 141 RBIs. back in that magical 2001 season. But, you know what it's like when you get in the playoffs, 116 win team. I mean, that Mariners team, objectively over the long haul, is the greatest baseball team of the 21st century. But sometimes in a short series, things can happen. And as you know, there's nothing in baseball like a Game 7, especially if it's the World Series or there's a pennant on the line. And we've got a pennant hanging in the balance tonight in Toronto, Seattle, and the Blue Jays. And, obviously it means a lot to both fan bases, to both cities, as any major game of this nature does. But I've got some friends, my buddy Brent, my buddy Rex, they're lifelong Mariners fans. And, they've been waiting a long time for that first World Series appearance. As you look at this one tonight, how does it set up on paper for you, and what are you looking for out of this game?
Well, I'll tell you, it's, you go back to that team in 01, and we were so good during the regular season. The only thing when you go back and you reminisce about that year is, and when the guys get together, guys that were a part of that roster in 2001, we talk about how did we not finish the deal? And it was like, I think in the end, and not from an arrogant vein, not from an ego-driven vein, but just because of the amount of success and what a magic carpet ride it was that season, I think we ended up getting into the playoffs and taking it for granted. I think we went to Cleveland, hard-fought series. We ended up winning. We knew we were going to win. I mean, it was just like every other city that year we went to. Well, we know we're going to win the series. It's just a matter of whether we're going to sweep or we're going to win 2 out of 3. And we had that attitude. We had handled the Yankees really well that season. And once we got through Cleveland, and we didn't play that good in the Cleveland series, we went to New York and it just expected, well, we're going to win this series. Once again, took it for granted. It's just a matter of how quick are we going to win it. And we end up losing it. And I remember that bus ride home and just looking at each other like that didn't happen, right? This is like a movie. This is our year. This is a magical year, and it wasn't meant to be. So as much fun and how great that generation was, that early 2000s in Seattle, and the fan base was unbelievable. It's still a little bittersweet because, you've got the 116, you've got the record, but there's kind of an asterisk with a little bit of a negative connotation. Like, you're the 116 team that choked and didn't win the World Series. So as great as the season as it was, it kind of sucks that there's a little bit of a negative connotation to it. Anyway, going back to the series tonight, in September, we went through Toronto. The Rangers went through Toronto. And I looked at that team and I thought, wow, there's something special about these guys. And it wasn't necessarily the roster, very talented roster, bunch of really good players. Vladimir showing what a star he is in this postseason. But guys like Gossman, who are just tough. Scherzer came on late in the season. He pitched great his last outing in the playoffs after being not on the roster in the first round of the playoffs. But they had something special. And they put the ball in play. It's tough to strike them out. That city is electric right now, the Toronto, and it's kind of like that's Canada's team now, with the Expos now being Washington Nationals. It seems like the entire country is rallying behind the Toronto Blue Jays. And I felt that just as when I'd leave the ballpark and I'd walk back to my hotel when we were playing the Blue Jays, just the buzz in the city. And the people, and they're excited, and all they're talking about is Toronto Blue Jays baseball. And of course, I'm the opponent and I want to kick your butt. But at the same time, it kind of made you smile like, wow, this Toronto Blue Jays team, they've got something really special. There's a special buzz going on in the city with the fans, and they're not disappointing. They're winning in a ton of different ways. I think the main thing that they do is they touch the ball. They put the ball in play. They make things happen. They put pressure on the defense constantly. In a day and age where strikeouts are kind of moo or poo-pooed and, oh, that's not that big a deal, I think it is a big deal. I think moving runners, I think hitting sac flies, these are the most important things. I think being a son of a gun with 2 strikes is really important to being a winning ball club and a great team. Toronto's got all that, and the pitching's been great for them. They've done a great job there. So tonight, look at the opposite side of the coin. And I'll say this, and I said this a month ago. And all the teams I played, the Texas Rangers played this year in the American League, I thought Seattle Mariners after the deadline with their acquisitions that they made, bringing Geno Suarez back, Naylor, to couple that with the Rosarina, with Julio, and of course Raleigh, who had that historic season behind the plate. I think they're the best team in the American League, and I've said that all along. I think they have more weapons, more dangerous weapons to take you deep than any other team in the American League, and you're always going to get a quality starter, whether it's Gilbert, Kirby, Wu. I'm trying to think who are the others. Who's the kid that's going to possibly be in there tonight? Anyway, Castillo. You've got Brash setting up, you've got Brash setting up Munoz in the bullpen. A great 8th, 9th inning punch. I think they're as good as anybody. And it started off kind of strange. Seattle went to Toronto, beat the brakes off them for 2 games, which hadn't happened much this year, especially the second half of the season. It was tough to go into Toronto and win. And all of a sudden, Seattle beat them 2 games. You're thinking, wow, they're just going to roll away with this. They go to Seattle and return the favor and win 2 and end up losing that 3rd game to make it 3-2 Seattle. But then another back to Toronto, and they were back to form, the way they've been playing at home for a long time now. And they beat them last night. Tonight should be about as electric in Toronto and in the city of Seattle, electric of an evening as they've had in a long time. And it comes down to a Bieber, who's coming off Tommy John. His last outing pitched great. And Kirby for the Mariners, who has just been a stud for them for 3 or 4 years now. 2 outings ago, Kirby pitched as good as you can pitch. His last outing, a little bit rough. So whoever's got the stuff tonight, whoever gets it done, it's going to be interesting. But nothing would surprise me. It's not going to surprise me one bit if the Mariners win. It's not going to surprise me one bit if Toronto. It's kind of a coin flip game for me. Anything could happen.
Well, Bret, we know no matter who wins, they're going to have their work cut out for them with the LA Dodgers, who just polished off a fantastic Milwaukee team that had the best record in baseball this year. 4 in a row. And then game 4, Shohei Ohtani, 6 shutout innings, 10 strikeouts, 3 home runs. A lot of people, myself included, are putting the thought out there that may be the greatest Major League Baseball game that anyone has ever had. I would have thought something like that would be completely unfathomable. I mean, Bret, you grew up, you were born and raised in the game. You grew up in Major League dugouts and following your dad around. You're a 3rd generation, major leaguer. Can you begin to put into words how extraordinary? Because I think sometimes now we start to take it for granted a little bit. But if you had said to me when I was 18 years old or 25 or 30 or hell, probably even 40 or 45, somebody was going to come along and he would be a number 1 type starter and also a 50-50 guy, I would have said, hey, look, it's like I read Superman comics and I didn't see anything that good. How do you begin to put it into perspective?
Well, I'm with you. I mean, growing up in the game, this game has been my whole life. And if you would have told me one day there's going to be not only a guy that pitches, but pitches at an elite level, a Cy Young level, and then he's going to hit on an MVP level offensively, I'd say, yeah, you're crazy. That's a pipe dream. It doesn't exist. Now, if one day you had a really good hitter that maybe could give you an inning in the bullpen, as the future goes on, as we progress through this life, I would say, okay, I could see that one day happening. But what Shohei's done, it's absurd. And everybody that's ever played this game knows how absurd it is. It'd be one thing if he was a pretty good player. He hit 264 with 17 homers and stole a base here and there. And he was a middle reliever, and that would be phenomenal in itself, just to be able to do it on both sides, pitching and hitting. But the way he does, he's just not hitting. He's hitting 50 plus a year. He's hitting 300. And then he goes out and he's got wipeout stuff. He's got Cy Young type stuff. And to do what he did the other day, 3 for 3, 3 homers. And by the way, I'll just throw 6 shutout innings in a closeout game. That's ridiculous. And I think when you say maybe the greatest game ever, I don't even think there's a question. I think it is by far, and no one's even close to having a game as good as that in the history of baseball. I think it's impossible because there's been some unbelievable offensive performances. There's been some unbelievable complete game shutouts, but to do it both in the same game, I don't even think it's a question that's the greatest game ever played by an individual. It would almost be like I'm the quarterback and I'm returning punts, and I returned 2 punts for touchdowns, and I threw five touchdowns through the air. I think that's a comparable thing in another sport.
Yeah, in a previous, society, they would have had a witch trial or something for this guy, because it must be some sort of magic. I remember Brooks Kieschnick. I thought Brooks Kieschnick was impressive as hell, Bret. Just being able to be a dual player on any level. Let me ask you one more before I get you out of here. ABS challenge system is coming, and we've known that it's been in the pipeline for a while. Obviously, we saw it. It's in some spring training games this year. Obviously, it's been tested in the minors. How do you feel about it, and what impact do you assess that it's going to have on the game? Any differences that will be significant?
Well, I think, years ago, if you asked me this question, I said, absolutely not. I love the human element in the game. I love the umpire. I love the cat and mouse. In my generation, what they did was they established the good ones, the good umpires. They'd establish their strike zone early, and they'd stick with it and they'd be consistent with it. Sometimes that day they were given the low and outside pitch. They were calling that a strike, but they were giving you on the inside corner. But you knew that because they established their zone. Today's game is much different, and it's with the technology and the precisiveness in every game. Once again, I'm going to go back to that white box, and I think it's taken away from the game a little bit because it seems like the commentators, whoever's covering the game, that's all we talk about is if the ball doesn't hit the white box, oh, that's a ball. Definitively saying that. You could never say that in the past because there was never an established strike zone for you at home. There should be an asterisk that says for your entertainment only. When you have that when they have that by the catcher, that square. But since the cat's out of the bag and we do have that technology and the amount of scrutiny that these umpires go through, I think it's unfair. I talked to a lot of ex-umpires and umpires that were with me in my generation, and they say that the umpiring today is as good as it's ever been. And I believe it after watching that. I mean, these guys get critiqued so much for a ball this far off the white line with the eye, with the velocity and the movement that's in the game today. It's almost an impossible feat. And to be critiqued at that level, it's kind of gotten to the point where it's ridiculous. So if they're going to have the technology that can do that, and I think going forward, the ABS is the challenge system. I think you're going to have you're going to have somewhat of a strategy going in. Who challenges, who's allowed to challenge, what is the criteria? You just can't let your emotions take over as a hitter. If it's the second inning and it's the strike 2 pitch, in no big situation, but you just tap your head because oh, that was a ball, and you're wrong. You just lost one of your challengers. So there's going to have to be a strategy. Who's allowed to call? Is it you're going to put the bulk of the decision making in your catcher's hand from a defensive perspective, or you're going to give it to the hitter? When can you do it? Is it going to be after the 7th inning? Is it going to be on a strikeout pitch? Is it going to be that's going to be the toughest thing, is deciphering when to use those challenges, because they're not unlimited. I think eventually, once they get through this, you're going to go to the next step, and I think you're going to have an automated strike zone, which for years and years I would definitely be against. Once again, the human element, but I think with how far we've progressed technology wise, I think it's inevitable that we're going there. And the one thing as a hitter, I try to put myself in the hitter's vein at all times. At least I know exactly what that strike zone is. And if that computer is perfect and can do it, I have no questions. If it's a strike, it's a strike. It's a ball, and the computer is going to tell me what it is. I think they're going to have to prove that technology is good enough to be that precise. But once it gets there, you're never putting your bat into the hands of an umpire anymore. You're never putting that 2-strike pitch into the umpire's hands anymore and allowing him maybe to make a bad call in that situation. The computer is the computer. You know exactly what the strike zone is. And as hitters, believe me, and And I just reiterate this point with the hitters of today. They'll come back. They know that strike zone. They know when it's a ball off that white box because that's what you do for a living. You're there so often that they'll come back, go, Boone, I think that miss, that's a ball off. And I'll see the replay, and sure enough, it's a ball off. So most hitters are very, very aware within inches of where the ball is, whether it's a ball or a strike. You're definitely going to get it wrong sometimes. But I went from that old school, definitely never bring the computer in, never bring an automated strike zone to kind of at this point, because of the critique and the level of critique, let's bring it in. We're going there anyway. It's no use fighting.
Yeah, we, they can get off our lawn, I guess. But yeah, it's times change, and quite frankly,
times change, and
this is where we're at now. Yeah,
times change, and I think this, if you don't roll with the times, this game will run you over. So you roll with it. You got to accept the good with the bad. Some things you're going to like, and some things you're not going to like. You wish they stayed the same, but that's just, you got to evolve with the game, or like I said, this game will just run you over.
Well, you were certainly one of the finest middle infield bats of your generation. Now one of the best hitting coaches in Major League Baseball in short order, I would venture to say. Let us know where my audience can find the Bret Boone podcast here, because I know folks are enjoying hearing you talk about hitting, and I want to make sure that they can catch up with you more often.
Yeah, and Ricky's been on the Bret Boone podcast. I appreciate that. During the season, I kind of took a little bit of a break. I'd appear once in a while, but my executive producer, Rich Herrera, has handled the Boone podcast. Once we get through the World Series, I'll be back hosting again. But you can get it wherever you download your podcast. We're on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get it. It's just the Bret Boone podcast. We're also started on YouTube now, so check it out.
All right. Thank you, brother. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you.
Thanks, Ricky. Appreciate it.
All right, he is three-time All-Star Bret Boone, and let me welcome in a man who is an All-Star in my heart, at least. He is the international streaming star joining me from Nashville, Tennessee, Ronnie T-shirts. And Ronnie, are you awake in Nashville? It's like the coach didn't call your number until later in the game. It's kind of how Goldstein used to feel down at the end of the Carver bench, waiting for Kenny Reeves to give him some run here today.
Yeah, man,
that was intentional, Ron.
That was quite the TED Talk on baseball. Like, man,
just into the newsroom. You're not a big inside baseball guy, is what you're telling me. I thought we might have to have somebody poke you with a stick there, just to make sure. Somebody say something about Archie Griffin, so this motherfucker snorts and wakes up.
That, or like, I don't know.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Pretzels, something. Just say stuff. Food.
Yeah. Spaghetti and meatballs. What? I'm back. It's like hitting you with the defibrillator paddles. Ronnie, here's a tweet. I don't know. I think you probably saw this one. It blew up. And when I tweeted it, I didn't even realize that it was No King's Day. But it was about a king
I seen it.
Most people love. Yeah. Take a look here. Some of you might remember King Friday from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. What was it? It was the Land of Make-Believe or whatever. Is that what it was called? This motherfucker, whatever you want to call it, he ran a solid kingdom, and I think that some acknowledgement of it is overdue. Low crime, clean streets, quality monarch. But, we had people pointing out that I had tweeted this on No King's Day, Ron.
So how did that work out? Do we still we have a king, no king? I didn't see the results. Did it work?
I don't know. I mean, I woke up today and we don't have a king, so apparently it was immediately effective. So
well done.
Good for them. Ronnie, let's talk college football. By gosh, that's
all right. Now I'm awake. I'm awake.
Your favorite subject. Here we go. All right. A lot of upsets this week in college football. 9 teams in the top 25 tumbled. I think 4 of them were in the top 10. Let's take a look here. There you have it. I am, in fact, right. 5 of the top 11 going down. And shout out to my Louisville Cardinals, who
Dude,
knocked
that was so
off
awesome.
Miami there.
I watched almost the whole game.
How
It
about
was so
that?
awesome. So good.
Louisville, hey, look, Lamar Jackson, it's not Western Kentucky. We can do a few things, although where you get your master's degree is probably, it almost feels like you're cheating a little bit when you claim that one. It's like it's Western Kentucky for me, I suppose, who didn't fare nearly as well, by the way, as Louisville. But Billy Napier, it's finally looking like he's out here. You can see this ESPN reporting that sources say that Billy Napier is out. Ron, if that is in fact true, if that is true, he will. Yeah, I know. Interesting. He will finish his tenure 22-23 at Florida, but with a win in the 2024 Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl.
Oh, dude.
So,
I mean,
fuck
that
everybody if you think he didn't get the
in their
job
trophy
done.
case.
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and predict it right now. James Franklin, next coach at Florida. I mean, I don't think I'm going out on a limb here.
Interesting. I think Jared just said, fuck that in my ear, I believe. He does not like James Franklin. It's personal for Jared. Yeah. I don't know. He's not a fan of the guy, but what can I tell you? Let's look at our picks recap, Ron. We're in a horse race.
I said, did we both go 3-1?
We both went 3-1. We're both standing tall above 500 here. Go ahead and take me through your picks real quickly.
Well, we did the Steelers.
The New York Giants may have blown it, but
yeah, we did the Steelers last
logic
week.
Was sound.
Yeah, we did the Steelers last week. I was just so completely right about just bet against the Jets. It doesn't matter who they're playing. I mean, I was close. I was close on the Patriots because I said you could make that thing 26. I think I said 26, and I said I'd still take the Patriots, and I was damn close. And then the Giants, I think they're better than their record. They messed up in the second half. By the way, we're talking about the 33 points that Denver scored. How about the fact that the Giants also scored 2 touchdowns? Dude, 46 points were scored in the fourth quarter. 46 points. That's incredible, man.
Should have been 47.
Yeah. Oh, right. Oh my God. I mean,
blame it on the fucking kicker. Really.
Come on, dude. It's an extra point. But yeah, I just thought 7.5 was way too much to give to the Giants, and I was right, as I am every once in a while.
Yeah, when you're right, Ronnie. Well, let's take a look. I was also 75% right this week. As I said earlier in the show, Miami Dolphins, that's the last time I'm touching them unless I'm gambling against them. There's still a part of me that thought the Dolphins can't be this fucking bad. They can't be this fucking bad. They're playing the Browns. This is the true test. If the Dolphins have a pulse at all, this is a chance for them to get a win and maybe turn it around a little bit. Didn't happen, so I'm not fucking with them anymore. Patriots, you and I, that was our customary one a week where we pick the same team. And usually we agree, by the way. Have you ever noticed that like a solid 80% of the time when we both have the same pick, we're in agreement on it? The Eagles came through and beat the Vikings by 6. I felt pretty confident about that one. And then I was right in my one that I went out on a limb with a little bit. I said that I thought the Bears would beat the Saints by double digits, and they did. The Bears now 4-2 on a 4-game winning streak, and I think that we're going to have to start keeping an eye on the Bears, because for the first time, I'm starting to think now, well, you know what? Maybe the Bears are good enough that they could at least give the playoffs a run. And those might be famous last words. They are, after all, still the Chicago Bears. But I think Ben Johnson certainly is off to a 180-degree better start to his head coaching tenure than Aaron Glenn is in New York. Aaron Glenn coaching the Lions defense is probably looking pretty good to him right now at this juncture. Ronnie, let's set aside picks for a minute because we've got bigger fish to fry, because I got a question to ask you. What the fuck, Ron?
So Jordan Brand is releasing a book. It's obviously Michael Jordan themed. It's got six chapters, 6 chapters that represent his 6 championships. But the reason it's being featured on this segment is they've got 2 versions of the book, Ricky. One is called Classic, and it's $123. Very reasonable. But they're also selling 1,000 numbered copies for, are you ready? $2,300, Ricky, for a book.
What makes these more special? Just the fact that they're serial numbered? Is that it?
They're serial numbered, and it appears to be like leather, like debossed, like just a much more elaborate, sophisticated presentation. But $2,300.
Not autographed or anything like that.
I do not believe so. I don't believe so. But
that's one of the stupidest things that I've heard in a long time, Ron. If you've got $2,300 you want to spend, not even the college textbooks that I used to teach from cost that much money, so and they were always jacked up and inflated.
What about 123? Would you go 123 for the?
I would in fact not go 123.
They call it classic. They call it classic. It's more Gen Pop. It's just Gen Pop.
Look, dude. Once we hit the 3-digit mark for a book, I'm pretty well gone. I'm pretty well gone at that point.
Oh yeah, I can't. Yeah. Totally. I mean,
if it was autographed for $123 and it was signed, well, I'd buy that.
Sure.
But I think you should at least get an autograph for $2,300.
You would think. This next one I have, and so this isn't like a new story, but it's new to me. So that's why we're doing it, is there's a prep school in Shreveport, Louisiana, called Loyola College Prep School. And I just learned this weekend, is in 1966, Charles Schultz gave them permission to use Snoopy as their mascot. And to this day, they still use it. And they're called the Flyers. So look at this is their helmet. And then Jared's going to have
That's
a
fucking
picture.
Awesome.
I know. Well, take a look at their football field. Look at that. That's the middle of this football field.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Fucking get out of here. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. So this is like 51 years in the making. No, 59 years in the making to do this story, because it's been around forever. But I just found out, and I'm like, this is awesome. I have to do it.
Look at that. I had no idea. This should be like a bigger deal.
I agree.
How fucking cool is that? What do you know why he gave them permission?
I don't. That
seems so random.
So in the post that I saw is they took a picture of the letter that he wrote, and it's kind of hard to read. I'll see if I can figure out, even just if I'll let you know on the side in a text how or why they did it.
Yeah.
But regardless, I just
I'd
thought,
love
how awesome is this?
Oh, that's fucking super awesome for me. I'm a big Peanuts nerd. So
I know.
It's kind of my thing. I got like a whole shelf on my bookcase of just Peanuts stuff. By gosh, I need some figurines, Ron. I'm slacking on my figurines.
I mean, there's so many things I can get you for Christmas. Like, it's like, how some people are hard to buy for, dude. You're so easy to buy for. Like, the smallest little things make you happy. You're like a 4-year-old.
Yeah. Give me a knick-knack and I'll just excuse myself to the other room to play with it for a while. Let's go to poll replies.
Look at it. Just look at
it. Shall we? Yeah. I remember how excited I was as a kid when I got Starsky and Hutch. That was a big fucking deal. I got them at Kmart. Big K, as we used to call it in Elizabethtown, Kentucky back in the day. 5,400 votes almost in now, and it's clearly going to be spaghetti with meatballs. Martha Quinn is going to take the bronze, and Flea Flicker Touchdowns is going to silver medal today. Let's see what Super 70s Nation has to say about it. Mark Gojan, that's how I'm pronouncing it, Gojan, says the correct answer is Martha Quinn. And look at her. Everybody went to high school with like some girl that looked like Martha Quinn. And then
so
she
bubbly.
was on TV. And
just so bubbly.
She was bubbly. She just seemed like a real person in the way that a lot of people on television did. Christy Brinkley didn't seem real, but Martha Quinn seemed real. You felt
like you had a chance. You felt like you'd have a chance with Martha Quinn.
You felt like you had a chance with Martha Quinn. That's what I'm saying. All right. Well, what else does the audience have to say? Landon Nolan says the Super Tecmo Bowl Flea Flicker was always a good time. You're damn right, Landon Nolan. You're damn right. The dude says spaghetti with meatballs for me, but then again, I'm a glutton. I'm right there with you, dude. Let's just carb load and then take a nap. Although I'm doing pretty good, Ron. I'm 5 weeks in now on a lifestyle change. And I'm, I'm dealing.
Good.
Yeah. Doing
good numbers.
Very well. Playing the long game. Playing the long game.
It's, Ron. Hey, Ron, or Ricky, it's not a diet. It's a live it.
That's what I'm saying. I'm on a live it now.
Yeah.
This is just my life. So I'm very, very happy about that. Ron, thank you as always for your fine contributions to this program. I know that in the box score, it's not going to show that you played a lot of minutes, but anybody who watched this show recognizes that as always, Ronnie does the little things that just don't often fill the stat sheet, but that if you're watching the game, you're going to realize what an integral person he was in the success of the entire team here. As well, so were Adam and Molly in Nashville, and P. Jared, who's producing this program today. Producer Tim will be back with us, I don't know, Wednesday, Jared? Will we have him back on Wednesday? I think it is. Folks, we're excited to announce the return of the most patriotic award show on television. The Fox Nation Patriot Awards is back and better than ever, hosted by Sean Hannity, and it will happen at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, live from the Tillis Center in New York City. And if you'd like to get your tickets, you can do that very easily by heading over to foxnation.com/Patriot Awards. It's that simple. Last year's show was a record setter, but this year's show promises to be even bigger with surprise guests and new awards. You can get your tickets now at foxnation.com/Patriot Awards. And with that, I would like to thank you, sweet bastards, for being with us today, because you're the reason that we do this. You're the reason that it's so much fun. And I love you. Let's make a deal right now, shall we? That we'll meet back here again tomorrow when we will once again tee it high and let it fly with another episode of The Ricky Cobb Show.